What's poppin' people, it's your boy Zero, aka Black Goku. And today, we're here with some more ReZero Arc 9 chapter readings. Yes, I know, I have been quite behind. We're already on phase 3, I think. And yeah, I just know I'm behind. So I'm not gonna deliberate, I'm not gonna hold you guys. We already know how this goes. I'm bricked. You're bricked. Let's be bricked up together. I know they've been cooking. That's what, oh my god, dude. I love letting this shit build up and then just binging. But without further ado, let's jump into the reading. Arc 9, Chapter 22, How to End a Battle. When first hearing Ramji's plan, she'd had some reservations. Got that, Phil? If you fall into the enemy's hands, we're sure to lose. Of course, our enemies are gonna try and take advantage of that, seeing how that's their easiest victory. Sorry, the slang kind of threw me off a little bit. Also, I'm gonna slightly enlarge this. Smooth. I'm gonna have to be scrolling more, but it'll be a lot clearer on the screen. Hopefully it's clear for you guys too. All right. I'm the one in charge over here. I'm not gonna make a fuss and argue that I don't understand your logic, but if you expect me to just sit in a corner and watch you all like a fool, I'm not just gonna go along with that, you know? In a large battle, it's commonplace for a general to sit back all dignified like and wait till the fight and set. Wait, is the audio too loud? Hold on. I didn't do a practice recording, so I'm gonna lower that. So, okay, so my voice. Sorry, chat. I did not do a practice recording for this. Okay, I don't think it should be too loud. I just didn't want the lo-fi in the background to be louder than me. Hopefully my voice is coming across well. Let's see. Okay, that's a little bit better. Where we at? Yeah. I'll dignify like and wait till the fight and settle. Hey, come on, don't groan at me like that. Having just proposed a position that caused an explosion of displeasure from the one who had been listening, Ramji patted his bald head as he made a face of defeat towards Felt, who had groaned in frustration. Felt was used to seeing that troubled expression on Ramji's face, and she knew very well that when he made that expression, he was not actually as troubled as he appeared. When Ramji patted his own head with a troubled look on his face, he did so in order to steer the conversation in the direction he desired. What Ramji wanted to convey was, I said, that I won't ask you to sit back and watch or huddle up in the sidelines. I'm gonna have you follow the helmet bastard's footsteps, one move at a time. Okay. You're saying you want me to follow the helmet bastard around? What's the point of that? I want to be able to pinpoint the location of the helmet bastard in the forest as best I can. And after the squads that engage them are broken through, I'm thinking we can retrieve the survivors and ambush them from the rear. She understood that the strategy proposed by Ramji was one to corner the helmet bastard, blocking off his escape route and crushing him. To achieve this, their fighting force of 500 would be divided into a number of squads, and there was a possibility that the first squad to attack may have to be sacrificed. So they went in thinking that they were going to lose some bodies, but in actuality, Al was keeping everybody alive, which is like some Subaru type shit. You know, that's some shit Subaru would be doing. Or that's what he does. He tries to keep everybody alive. Also, I figured lo-fi would be a neutral enough backdrop for these readings, because I mean it gets really intense, but at the same time it's like, you know, just sitting, chilling, and reading. All right, where am I? Yeah, okay. And Felt would be in a position in which she would know of it, and yet be unable to do anything. Felt, since this is a battle, I know. I'm not like that damn Reinhardt. I'm not so naive as to think no one will die no matter what. I just don't like it. Acting on the assumption that you're going to die, I mean. Although she often had been treated as a child due to her appearance, Felt did not believe that she actually embodied such childish dreams, to the extent that she was unfortunately scorned due to her looks. Having grown up in the slums of the royal capital, where life was not considered to be of high value, one philosophy had been firmly rooted in her core. Human life was fragile. That was why they said it. Live strong. Ooh! Woohoo! I don't know why. That kind of hit for me. That kind of hit. All right. That's right. I also don't dislike squandering lives in futility. My bad. It's already crazy how the criminal underworld can risk their lives like that and still have an aesthetic sense about it. What the hell? Aesthetic? What does she mean by that? It's crazy how the criminal underworld can risk their lives like that and still have an aesthetic sense about it. Weird. Okay. Otherwise, I don't think they could have gotten so many people together when they asked for help. So I've got mixed feelings. The reason behind the ruffians' pledge to strictly adhere to Ramji's plan lay in a philosophy that was embedded deeply into the criminal underworld, and one very different from the blood code of the slums at that. The key to getting along well with them lay in respecting their differences rather than overly shying away from them. However, since Felt was at the head of this group, it was necessary to have everyone follow Felt's philosophy instead. Therefore, let's do this! I'm gonna go and win this battle my own way. I'm so curious to see because like they're not killing anybody. How does Al get out of this? Of course he keeps making the checkpoints obviously like very like frequently, so he's already done a lot of shit. But let's see. During those final moments, as Ramji closed the lid of the conversation mirror that connected them together, Felt's unpleasant intuition was confirmed, and she began to hasten her pace. The old man said, "There's one more thing left to do." Oh, these were the words of Camberley, as blood poured forth from every orifice of his face. Oh, I forgot Camberley was going in! Bro, the three alley thugs were going crazy, bro. Damn, man. All right. Distraction. There was something she wished to comment concerning his body's battered state, but Felt snatched the meteor. Oh, right. I forgot. It's a meteor. They call it meteor. Okay. Meteor from his hands, leaving him in the care of her comrades who had freed him from the restraints of the Helmet Bastards gang and ran. And after running the fastest she ever had in her entire life, the moment she emerged from the forest, she came across it. The scene of the divine dragon being made by Ramji to target himself along with the Helmet Bastard. Cut it with the crap! Without even realizing it, she raised the meteor, the Star Staff, taking aim at the incoming dragon. She was quite knowledgeable about the dragon's sturdiness, having borne witness to its clash with Reinhardt when Ezo and the others had gone to Pleiades' watchtower. Of course, the reason for which she aimed the Star Staff at the dragon was concerned not with its robustness. Even when interjecting to tell them to stop screwing around, Fel did not have the option to punch Romji. Wait, so what do they call it? Alcanica? I think people call Al and Volcanica Alcanica. I might just just start saying that unless they actually use it. But anyway. The blow that bore the light of the star struck the side of the dragon's maw, yielding a cry of pain that utterly lacked the dignity befitting the divine dragon, redirecting its breath towards a different direction. That breath forcefully leveled an empty, deserted plain, but that mattered not. Perhaps she had foiled Ramji's best laid plans, but that was fine. I had a bad feeling, and this was what I find? Being prepared to die and wanting to die right away are two totally different things, you know. Big stupid Ramji. Roaring, overcome with rising passion, Belt clenched her teeth. For a moment, Ramji and the helmet bastard were difficult to make out, and the two of them engaged in a battle of wits on a level that Felt could not even imagine, beheld her in astonishment. Felt's composure did not falter, even though tears shamefully welled in her eyes. I mean, that was me last episode. That idiot Reinhardt is gonna worry about this for a long time. Wonder about what? I just fucking fly from my room. For that reason, even if it meant being criticized for this prideful way of thinking, she would still choose how she would win. Otherwise, she would not be able to win in a worthwhile manner. To that end, Belt clung to her convictions. That was to say, live strong, Ramji. If you can't stick to that, then even if we win, it's still a loss. Just now, a loss? Vocalizing a hard truth, Aldebaran was overwhelmed by a sense of defeat. Valga Cromwell's statement from a moment ago had hit the bullseye on the authority-wielding Aldebaran. A flawless artifice that accounted for even the time limit of the Divine Dragon's return. Aldebaran's breath. A show of intimidation to end the battle. When that had been transformed into an inescapable trap, Aldebaran's matrix would repeat furthermore, forcing him straight towards the unending death, until his soul was finally worn down to naught. Harrowing was the ingenious plot of Valga Cromwell, who had delivered the demi-human war into a hellish state of civil warfare. No, this checkmate had not been begotten by that origin alone. Using 500 people, all my choices were whittled away. Unmistakably, therein laid Aldebaran's cause of defeat. The incessant onslaught of attacks in waves from 500 people, each and every one of them squeezing out every ounce of their lives in a desperate effort to challenge him, caused Aldebaran's mental strength to be gradually chipped away, impairing his judgment. On many junctures, he had needed to redo to a simple error. What the hell? That's some interesting wording. To a simple error in judgment. And he had overcame them by forcing his way through with a great number of attempts. In the end, he had made a critical mistake as he closed in to secure victory. Losing his temper due to the exchange with Valga, Aldebaran had misjudged the Matrix update site. What does that mean? Did he update the Matrix and then slightly get outside of the Matrix? Likely, even that had been part of the trap Valga had set. Falling right into it, nearly all possibilities were about to have been sealed off. No matter the trap, no matter the enemy, in the end, he would conquer them, no matter what. That arrogance of Aldebaran had been mercilessly prodded by the cunning great strategist. He ought to have known that even if his authority was invincible, Aldebaran himself, who exercised it, was banal. Banal? I hope I said that right. I said banal. That since he had not emerged victorious from a scenario in which he truly had no other choice but to win, Aldebaran had betrayed the many who had held expectations of him and had washed up here. Aldebaran had utterly wasted the treasure in his possession beyond his own station. Priscilla couldn't save her. It happened at the moment his husky sigh was about to vocalize the height of his self-punishment. Nobody move! A shrill voice a shrill voice resounded, breaking through the stagnant atmosphere, enveloping the plane of the battlefield. With the divine dragon summoned, and the stratagem of the great strategist who wielded his fury in the demi-human war failing, the central figures of this battle had gathered in this place, and taking initiative was the red-haired maid, Ye. Hindered by Gracius's ambush, Ye had been delayed in providing Aldebaran cover, but now, with steel threads, she had bound Gracius at the entrance of the forest, as well as Manfred at the corner of the plain, turning both of them over. Furthermore, are those the threads that tied up Ratchins and the rest? The Starstaff, having dropped to her feet, Felt clicked her tongue in loathing. All of Felt's limbs were bound by steel threads, the movement of her body having been completely sealed. That was to say, the tables had been turned. For such remarkable rudeness towards your noble station, I humbly proffer my dearest apologies, Felt-sama. I ain't nothing like a noble. Why the hell are you following that helmet bastard? Isn't yielding to the most terrifying opponent the most natural of things? Flatly sticking your tongue out, Ye responded to the immobilized Felt with her usual demeanor. Witnessing that exchange in the corner of his eyes, Aldebaran took a step back to distance himself from Valga. But then again, with his stratagem having failed, Valga was down on his knees, unmoving. His stratagem, upon which his life had been staked, had been a swing and a miss. That exhaustion could be called natural, but below Aldebaran, present in his eyes of that exceedingly clever old giant, was a hue more poignant. Anyway, then a simple sense of defeat. I don't care what happens to me. Just don't lay a hand on Felt. Those are the words I wanted to hear. Though, I hadn't wanted to see that face. Faced with Valga's expression, as he wrought out the appeal with difficulty, Aldebaran answered with his true feelings. Being the ones to have picked this fight, asking him not to lay a hand on her was far too convenient a request. But, if the table could thus be set to put an end to this battle, his sense of relief surpassed his irritation. Naturally, with the revisions to the plan that had been thrown into disarray, Aldebaran's 7 days had become something far more difficult. Even so, finishing a battle against the first opponent to ever defeat him aside from the witch. Huh? Even so, finishing a battle against the first opponent to ever defeat him aside the witch, his deep sentiments toward the fact currently exceeded everything else. Yo, me. Wait. Oh, okay. It's Al Kanika. Damn. What? Is he talking about Satella? Did he fight Satella, bro? It's Al Flugel? Bro. No. Who? I don't know. Shit's getting interesting. I mean, it's already been interesting, but I digress. Yo, me. Looks like that went pretty damn rough, didn't it? With a beat of its wings as it perched down on the ground, Aldebaran called out to Aldebaran. Frankly, he felt that it was far too lacking in guilt for having almost ruined everything with his erroneous shooting. But he had made it abandon its duty of drawing as much of the kingdom's attention away as it could in half a day, recalling it to him. So in regards to disappointment, he would close his eyes here and call it mutual. So, seems like you unexpectedly came to clash with Lil Miss Felt and her gang. But what on earth was that just now? Trapped to make the other me accidentally shoot me. That's fucking hilarious. It felt like I'd been completely checkmated on the strategy board. In truth, that was about to be the case. Okay. So yeah, he was basically gonna get put in an infinite death loop, kind of like what Subaru was in. Interesting. Yeah. And then Felt came and fucked it up and then got caught. But hey, whatever. Where am I? Okay. That sort of thing brings back unpleasant memories of being thoroughly beaten by teacher. Oh, he's talking about Echidna. Ooh. Huh. Sharing the same memories from the Book of the Dead, Aldebaran's words caused Aldebaran to remember being childishly obliterated into the stratagem board. Wait. Shatranj. I was saying that wrong. What the hell? Shatranj board by the witch who had bestowed him with all sorts of knowledge, putting him in a foul mood. Huh. What the heck is a Shatranj board? Nonetheless, games atop a board were fundamentally different to the battlefield upon which Aldebaran commanded his authority. Valga had been a truly dreadful enemy. Nah, perhaps the real frightening thing's the virtue of Lil Miss Felt, who you bow to. And it is though we're bowing down to Felt. I guess that'd be so. Whilst being fellow royal candidates, Felt and Priscilla each shone in their own ways. If the dazzling nature of the sun one looked up to was different, the way in which it scorched their eyes would also vary. Therein lay not a matter of which was correct, but merely a difference in which light one chose to revere above their head. Okay. And those who had decided to revere Felt were Valga and... So, that's how it is for all of you. Within Aldebaran's vision were the ruffians who had come crawling out of the forest, wounded from the battle. Whilst lending their shoulders to one another were 500 people who had yet to lose their fighting spirit. Hey! As Valga had threatened, as long as their lives were not taken, they would force their wounded bodies up over and again, struggling up. Oh, god damn it! Fucking can't read. Hold on. Let me take a second, chat. And all right, back in. Let's go. As Valga had threatened, as long as their lives were not taken, they would force their wounded bodies up over and again, struggling onward to attempt to defeat Aldebaran. Faced with their resolute expressions, Aldebaran was once again made keenly aware to go down a path that would no longer receive affirmation from anybody in the world. He was made keenly aware of the effects of having decided so. But the situation's changed from earlier. You guys have no longer got any shot at victory. Same old story as the Sword Saint and the Witch of Envy. The Divine Dragon completely breaks the game. I like how he words that. The outrageousness of the Divine Dragon was something akin to ignoring one's pieces and directly throwing a punch at the opponent during a match atop a Shatranj board. What the fuck? I'm gonna look that up real quick. I've never heard of that. Unless that's just some random shit that they... Shatranj. Shatranj game? Old form of chess originating in ancient Persia, derived from the Indian game. Okay. So it's basically chess. Oh. Okay. I mean, like, that's basically what I figured that it was, but I digress. Okay, where we at? I just want to say chess, but fuck it. In this world, there were a fixed number of beings who existed outside of that framework. Of those beings, one he had sealed, one he had subdued, one he had utilized, and one he had enlisted as an ally. Chat. What? One he had sealed. One he had subdued. One he had utilized. And one he had enlisted as an ally. So clearly the one he had sealed has to be Satella. One he had subdued has to be Reinhardt. One he had utilized. Echidna? Echidna? Question mark? Teacher? And then one he had listed would be Volcanica. Aldebaran would not hesitate to use every ounce of his advantages. Hence, sorry, but I'm forcing a game set here. We'll be making it so you guys won't be able to chase us from here on out. Belt-sama, could you stay still? Abruptly, Ye's quiet voice interrupted Aldebaran's counsel to yield. When he glanced in her direction to see, Ye was standing on Felt's back, the latter restrained by steel wires, and as Ye directed a sharp gaze towards her, she uttered a warning. However, Felt prefaced, "I ain't gonna move," to Ye, and "Look at me." Indeed, she quietly wove those words. Hearing Felt's utterance, Aldebaran, Ye, and even Valga all knit their eyebrows. Her intent was unclear. Aldebaran suspected that there might have been some stratagem that would activate once she came into vision, but Felt herself was apprehended by Ye, and she was literally incapable of doing a thing. In that state, there was not a single thing she could do. In the girl's red eyes dwelled a strength of will that betrayed any such notions. And then, a bit of a problem's come up, me. So said Aldebaran, who had been rubbing the cheek of that cheek that had basked in the staff's blast with his forefoot. The brunt of that puzzling voice was directed towards Aldebaran, who shared the same memories and personality, but Aldebaran did not look at him as it spoke. It was not a matter of a poor attitude. The eyes of the dragon were trained upon Felt. It was as if to say that taking its eyes off Felt would be difficult, immensely so. Before Aldebaran could investigate what that meant, rather than rubbing its cheek, Aldebaran was trying to fiddle with the metal fixtures of the helmet it was not wearing out of habit. Interesting. Try as it might, I don't want to refuse Farsail's, Little Miss Felt's request. And so, wait, what? Huh? And so, the occurrence of a definite problem was thus disclosed. Farsail, thy recklessness hath exhausted myself and everyone else akin. When the divine dragon had spoke thus to her, Felt had been traversing the Ogrius sand dunes, aiming for the Pleiades watchtower with melee Hortrud in tow as to prove the latter's utility. It seems to have been intimidated by Reinhardt's presence, so the divine dragon Volcanica, meant to be protecting the tower, had hastily attacked Felt and her group. The fierce battle seemed like it would scatter half the sand dune's entirety away, and there was no doubt that it was the flashiest battle Felt had witnessed in all her life. Ultimately, no conclusion was drawn in the battle between Reinhardt and Volcanica. After all, Volcanica's combativeness had withdrawn upon seeing Felt, leaving it an unfinished battle. What? Huh? Is like the memories of like Volcanica, does it have something to do with the royal family and it being Felt and like the covenant? Huh? Wait. The battle having thus ended in an incomprehensible manner, that had been the first thing the dragon had said. Who the hell are you calling Farsail? Stop screwing around! As the divine dragon impolitely mistook her for another, Felt had taken offense. On the other hand, regarding the name Farcel that Volcanica had spoken, even Felt was not so ignorant as to not have a clue. In this kingdom of Lagunica, if the name Farcel came from the divine dragon Volcanica's mouth, that referred to the being known as the last Lion King, the one who had spearheaded the formation of the covenant between the kingdom and the dragon, none other than Farcel Lagunica. That was to say, Volcanica had mistaken Felt for the last Lion King. Farcel Lagunica unmistakably ought to have been a male king, so to be mistaken for him really made her angry. In the year and a half since the royal selection had begun, perhaps thanks to her dramatic improvement in nourishment from her days in the slums, Felt's body had grown considerably. Her figure ought to have been somewhat more visible from her malnourished state, with its unclarity as to whether she was male or female. So you saying that Felt got like kind of yoked? She's only like 16. Or no, 15. Felt was she said she was gonna be 15 that year in season 1 of ReZero, so 1 year time skip and a little bit of time. She's probably like 16 now. Okay. Interesting. Fuck, where am I? Okay. That confidence of hers had been wounded, and thus her contact with the divine dragon, who most people in the Dragon Kingdom had never been able to meet, had been not enjoyable, and had been no enjoyable affair for Felt. Nonetheless, it had not ended with just that experience of an unenjoyable meeting. Perhaps because it had been extremely close with Farcel, Volcanica was incredibly friendly towards Felt. Frankly, it was unreasonably attached to her. Despite its head being as empty as a senile old man, it was still quick to obey Felt's words without hesitation. The promise between Lagunican royal family and Volcanica, huh? Since no material records existed, the relationship between the Lion King and the Divine Dragon, what words they exchanged, and in what manner they made their promise, such minute details were unknown. Only Felt fully understood that there existed something between the two, something that was neither a one-sided employment, nor was it simply a fellowship on a deed bond. Moreover, mistaking Felt for Farcel, Volcanica was laudably trying to maintain their covenant formed long ago. Felt was not so heartless as to not feel anything regarding that. Not to mention, it did not seem that Volcanica was mixing her up with Farcel just because the hair and the eye color. As for what exactly that signified, Felt had come up with somewhat of a conclusion within herself. But at the current point in time, without Reinhardt by her side, she had no intention of putting it into words. The important thing was that to Volcanica, Felt filled the place of Farcel. That was to say, "Look at me." As soon as she had pronounced it, the reactions of the helmet bastard and the shinobi maid, who I wonder where this is about to go, who looked at her suspiciously, and Volcanica, no, the divine dragon who had flickered its head to look at her, were evidently quite different. Without a doubt, the divine dragon's reaction to Felt's words was compelled by a force that the others had not felt. Evidence that it had experienced a sensation difficult to ignore. Can she control Volcanica? Hey, yo! If she can control Volcanica, that would actually be huge. That would be massive. What? And to counter the time limit on this battle that Ramji had defined in advance, the wild card of the helmet bastard summoning the divine dragon to the battlefield, this was the one and only measure. The moment she became convinced of it having worked, Felt shouted, "Everyone, lend a shoulder to the wounded and withdraw! This fight is over!" Huh? What? The Divine Dragon can't ignore me. This is our moment to call it quits. The helmet bastard was left speechless at the declaration that had flown right over his head. Feeling good about that helmet bastard's dumbfounded reaction, Felt looked past him over at Ramji, his face stiffening, as Ramji's wrinkles grew even deeper. Felt, I told you, Ramji, if the Divine Dragon returned, this is what I do. You silently plotted on your own, Ramji. I properly consulted with you, and my actions here makes logical sense. To Felt's direct words, Ramji felt silent with no reply. Both Felt and Ramji had considered the case in which the Divine Dragon was to return. How would they even... Oh, well, I mean... Yeah, okay, I see what they're saying. Coming back in that sense of like when he went to go stir up shit for the kingdom or like distract him or whatever, he meant coming back to the battlefield. Okay. Okay. As she had said, Felt's properly consulted plan ought to have been a far more sounding reason. Helmet bastard. Oi! Were you being serious just now? Wait, why didn't they just say ow? Besides the exchange between Felt and Ramji, the helmet bastard, who had stood back up from the impact, posed that question to the Divine Dragon high above himself. In response, as the Divine Dragon gave a deep exhale from its nostrils. As seriously serious as serious can be. Having come to this point, my level of self-restraint is such that I'd like you to praise me for not changing sides over to Little Miss Felt. If you weren't me, I'd have betrayed you without a second thought. That's crazy. That joke's crossing the line. Oi! Fidgeting with the metal fixtures on his helmet, the helmet bastard's shoulders drooped at the Divine Dragon's answer. Hearing the two converse, Felt harbored a sense of unease, as she was concerned about the evident discrepancy in the Divine Dragon's demeanor from before, but she still did not have time to point it out at that moment. Here and now, Felt had to press on by using herself as fortunate countermeasure against the Divine Dragon, allowing the defeated Romaji and the others to evacuate to safety. You don't know when to quit, Felt-sama. Directly after that, to be whispered into her ear, a fine pressure tightened around her neck. With a closer look, digging into Felt's neck with a thread so thin that it would go unnoticed to the untrained eye, causing blood to run down. Of course, the perpetrator of that act was the shinobi maid who had tied up Felt with threads. Yay, stop it! Follow my orders! Why aren't they using the name? Like, why is it saying helmet bastard now and shinobi maid? Just is this like a perspective shift or something? Anyway, I'm prepared to be punished. Be punished as I counsel you this, Ao-sama. We'd better finish off Felt-sama here. After all, even I could tell you that her consultation with the Divine Dragon-sama just now didn't progress in a desirable direction. That's a no-go, yay. I won't allow it if you do it. In a place of faltering, in a place of the faltering helmet bastard, the one who threatened the shinobi maid, yay, was the Divine Dragon, having slightly lowered its head. The Divine Dragon's ire, the brunt of its overpowering glare, was enough to make one feel pain, as though their skin was charring. However, basking in that ire, Ye calmly glared back at the dragon. Unfortunately, Ao-sama is the one I'm afraid of, not the Divine Dragon-sama. There's nothing scary whatsoever about your glare. Yay! Stop it, both of you! Don't recklessly quarrel. They're taking advantage of it. Butting into the confrontation between Ye and the Divine Dragon, the helmet bastard was cautious of Felt and Ramji. In truth, Felt cannot do anything in her own bound state, but even now, Ramji's eyes had not ceased in the in their attempt to find an opening to pull something off. At that fact, both Ye and the Divine Dragon withdrew their confrontational atmosphere for the time being, vigilant of Ramji. But, this problem isn't resolved. It's a fact of Felt-sama is dangerous. I know. Me. Is there really nothing you can do? Yeah, my bad. It ain't a matter of being bound by a compelling force, constraints, or an oath, or anything like that. Only, I'm seriously against it, no matter what. My sense of self feels like it's gonna split apart. With Ye's comment, the views of the Helmet Bastard and the Divine Dragon formed parallel lines. The Helmet Bastard had a course. He wished to progress, and Ye and the Divine Dragon were in a position of following that. But it seemed like their intentions were not completely unified at their roots. As it currently stood, the circumstances had the potential to fail either way. In that case, let's call it a draw here. You let my allies go, and in exchange, we'll also let you guys go. Ain't that a little too convenient? It may have been the result of having an advantage of coincidence on our side, but we demolished all your plans, Lil Miss Felt. And yet, why would you call it a tie? Do you really need me to spell it out for you? Our little squabble here had a mutual time limit of the Divine Dragon returning. But if the Divine Dragon won't lend a hand to either side, that disappears. And if that disappears, you'll just have to fight around 500 people all over again. Fair. As she spoke, Felt carefully examined the Helmet Bastard, though his complexion remained hidden. For what she could not see on his face, Felt gathered all up the information she could, such as what the Helmet Bastard was feeling within, his breathing, and minute gestures, and did her absolute best to see through him. Within Felt's current argument, there was a decisive hole that she herself was aware of. The entirety of the situation until now had materialized due to the Helmet Bastard making an unexpected decision to not kill anybody. Were the Helmet Bastard to tear through that premise on a whim, it would all be over for Felt and her crew. Even if restricted by the Divine Dragon's movements, Ye's threads could wrap around the necks of Felt's 500 allies and strangle them to death, wiping them all out. Of that, it was impossible that the Helmet Bastard himself was unaware. Hence, with all her might, all her body and spirit to dissuade the Helmet Bastard from that idea, Felt would choose her words, refine them, and let them resound from her soul. She must convince him that continuing this battle would not be worth it. I'll say this now, but this isn't the sort of plan that my Ramji uses. If the battle continues, it'll just be another cause of malicious knowledge getting put on display. That's frightening, but that'd be the same as letting you get here, yeah? Wait, that'd be just the same as letting you go here, yeah? Even if we call it a draw for the time being, you guys will challenge us again from square one, and we'll go in circles forever. Right. That's why let's do it this way. I'll go with you as your hostage. Aw, come on. Don't do this. His breath slightly caught, and Felt could tell that the Helmet Bastard's eyes had widened through his gestures. Feeling that his reaction, Felt gently, not greedily, reeled that shining ray of hope in towards herself. If I'm with you, my guys won't be able to get in your way. This was the victory condition you'd originally aimed for in order to win this battle, yeah? Nothing will come of this. To think we deliberately bring along a disrupting element in such a proposal, there would be no sense of it if Felt-sama manages to escape. In that case, you can just keep this thread attached to me. You too, Divine Dragon. If I break my promise and die trying to escape, that'd be my own responsibility. You don't need to get angry. Oi, oi. Oi, oi, oi. There's no chance of that, Farsail. I ain't Farsail. Ye, who had interjected, and the Divine Dragon who had tried to deny her, Both pondered Felt's words. All the while, Felt stared right at the helmet bastard, who, like herself, had the right to decide things in this location. And then, what will you do? Whether this continues or not is up to you. I don't want to carry needless baggage. Crazy word. But it's also true that this is no time for me to be having a dispute with myself. It should be fine to go along with Little Miss Felt's hostage plan. However, in deep, quiet deliberation, the helmet bastard carefully weaved his words. At the end of those words, he paused, and the terminus of his words, as if to put on airs. It happened then. As if to intrude on the tempo of the conversation, Ramji raised a battle cry and reached out with his arm, seizing the helmet bastard from behind. His brawny arms constricted the neck and waist of the helmet bastard, akin to how Ye bound Felt, achieving a situation in which the leaders of both parties were mutually apprehended. Donut! The instant the helmet bastard's incantation manifested his left arm of rocks, striking Ramji's jaw with a heavy blow. Born of the stone prosthetic. That's actually so interesting that he's been able to do that. I mean, we haven't really seen him have to fight, but you can imagine that he probably did that earlier in the series, especially when he was fighting Capella. Also, how are you guys enjoying the chapter so far? I know like my reading can be a little cooked, but overall, dude, this chapter's been amazing so far. Like, and I'm so glad there's so much more to read. So we got a lot of content, my boys. By the time that this comes out, I'm going to double record. So once I finish this chapter, I'm going to read another chapter, and then I'm not going to upload this chapter reading until I have read chapter 24 and like have that recorded. So I'm just gonna make sure that it's at a very constant string of uploads. So like I was saying before, like every other day you guys should get an upload, if not every day, with the pace that I want to get at. So let's keep it going. Let me see. Born out of the stone prosthetic for his missing arm, the helmet bastard's unexpected blow violently jolted Ramji's brain, his large body producing an enormous sound as it collapsed onto the plane. She was about to rush over to his side, but recalling the sensation on her neck, Felt refrained. Facing her, the helmet bastard the helmet bastard took a deep breath after knocking out Ramji. However, you'll need to look past just this one punch to your gramps. With that, he appended the condition for ceasing hostilities after the fact, and thus accepted Felt's proposal. The unconscious Valga was shouldered by Gracias and Gaston and carried away. As he watched this unbalance of physiques, Aldebaran diligently ascertained the withdrawal of the 500 ruffians. No, of his formidable enemies through to the very end, making sure that those formidable foes definitively passed beyond the horizon and that nobody was attempting to pursue them covertly. Aldebaran also thoroughly verified. There aren't any risking it. Everyone withdrew. Is that true? I wonder. Can I really believe you? You won't betray me, will you? It's a cliched development in manga for someone to be betrayed by another version of themselves. But rest assured, for now, currently, my backing towards Little Miss Felt and my backing towards me balance at a total 50-50. Sounds like I'm already treading in dangerous enough waters. Wondering to what extent that should be taken at his word, Aldebaran's statement inspired a certain sense of dread. It was something he had known from the start, but Aldebaran could only ever be Aldebaran. Even if they shared memories and a personality, it could never become Aldebaran himself. It was an exceedingly reliable supporter for Aldebaran to fulfill his objective, but the truth was that it could never become more than just a supporter. Al-sama, I finished inspecting Felt-sama's belongings. With that, Ye waved her hand as she returned to Aldebaran, the latter submerged in deep thought. He had ordered her to conduct a thorough search of Felt's person, to investigate the possibility that Valga Cromwell had put something in her possession. But then again, judging from Ye's demeanor, nothing seemed to have been found on Felt. How'd it go? Let's see. She had a conversation mirror, so I shattered it. So you had one on you? Oi, little Miss Felt! Shut the hell up. I told her voluntarily. It's not like I was hiding it. So there shouldn't be a problem. As Aldebaran raised his voice, Felt poked her head out from Aldebaran's shadow and talked back in dissatisfaction. There was no cover from trees in this sprawling plain, so Felt's pat-down had been conducted behind an excessively large body of Aldebaran. In any case, upon hearing Felt's answer, he glared at Ye, who then stuck out her tongue with a bleh. It was just Ye-chan's playful joke. You... Please don't take it so seriously, Al-sama. After all, it's not like you ever properly listened to what I've got to say. Now, do you? My bad. I can't hear you, so you're not forgiven. My bad! He apologized with a loud shout, to which Ye ostentatiously covered her ears. Ye's attitude was childish and immature, but her taking on such an attitude was only natural. Aldebaran's ego was forcing an unreasonable restriction upon Ye, that prevented her from displaying even half of her true capabilities. Nevertheless, since he had disciplined Ye through fear instead of granting her wishes, there was no room for any excuse regarding how much of a complete DV bastard he was. What the fuck? Domestic violence? Jeez, I get that you had to search me, but you don't normally strip someone completely naked out in the open. As she stepped out of Aldebaran's shadow, Felt muttered her... Oh god, she got her naked? While still tied up? That's interesting. Felt muttered her own complaints. Sorry, chat. The consistent reading. It's been a little minute. Okay. Let's see, wait, where the fuck was that? Okay, yeah. As she stepped out from Aldebaran's shadow, Felt muttered her own complaints. She glared at Ye upon hearing that remark, and with her hand still covering her ears, she was intent on evading any questioning about having conducted the harassment of needless stripping. Well, just take that as being a common affair for losers. Low Miss Felt, probably way more than you can imagine. I was really terrified by your gramps. Huh, is that so now? Well, my Ramji's just incredible. Though, I'll absolutely never forgive him for trying to outmaneuver me. It seems like it was deep-rooted in him. Though I'll absolutely never forgive him for trying to outmaneuver me. It seems like it was deep-rooted, or sorry, I got a text and it threw me off. Let's see. It seems like it was deep-rooted in him. In reality, things were quite close to a draw. Damn it, I'm like, I thought I was still reading Felt for a second. Also, like, some of the reading can get kind of cooked. I'm trying to read from like the top of the screen and going down, but like my mic's in the way, so I have to like keep lowering the pop filter and look over it. It's just weird. Maybe. So I'm trying to get in like a good position. Anyway, how are you guys feeling today? You guys doing all right? You guys enjoying the chapter so far? I am. Let me know what one of your favorite moments from the chapter was. Down in the comments. I can only say that some of the lore that we've been getting has been diabolical. Let's see. I wonder how much more we got. It seems it seems like it was deep rooted in him. In reality, things were quite close to a draw. Belt's mood swung at her own expense as she praised Valga, to which Aldebaran gave a wry smile. Hearing Aldebaran's words, she looked up at the face of the smiling dragon. Reminds me, I'd wanted to ask, but you aren't Volcanica, right? It was hard to say just how much of the circumstance she had grasped, but felt suspicion regarding Aldebaran were only natural if she had known of the divine dragon from before the Book of the Dead had installed memories within it. Ignoring that and kicking up a loud fuss would only increase the hardship along the way, but... The Nichan from Amelia Nichan's place, huh? Helmet bastard. It's similar to the way you speak. Oh, she's talking about Subaru. Oh, talking about Subaru. Yeah. Aldebaran, wasn't it shorter? Since it felt too short for a belt and too long for a sleeve tie, management also decided that one wouldn't sell. What? What the hell? Oh, wait, I skipped something. Oh, frick. Okay. Management decided... Wait. Yeah. Management decided that it wouldn't sell like that. So the character is currently veering in a different direction. Also, quit calling me Helmet Bastard. It's Aldebaran. Aldebaran? Wasn't it shorter? Since it felt too short for a belt and too long for a sleeve, management also decided that that one wouldn't sell. With that perfunctory answer, Aldebaran put off giving Felt a detailed explanation. In any case, if Felt was accompanying them from here on out, Aldebaran would end up telling her even if Aldebaran did not, about how the renowned divine dragon of history became a frivolous and unserious clown. I guess this is like Al's personality. Anyway, for now, I gotta modify the plan. We've only got around 5 days left. With the battle against Felt and the others cutting into his remaining time, there was no choice but to give his plan major revisions. Be that as it may, the fact that they had reconvened with Aldebaran ahead of schedule meant that it was possible for them to hold a constructive outlook of the usefulness in dramatically shortening the length of their journey. Though there was the concern that the royal army, which was originally supposed to assemble in the north, had not fallen for the diversion so well as the plan had intended. But by the way, we don't have the option of tying Little Miss Felt up and leaving her here, do we? If she hadn't said, "Look at me," then you might have. I thought there's no compelling force. There isn't. I just feel like I want to comply with whatever she requests. Crazy word. Met with a considerably dangerous response, Aldebaran was completely at his wit's end. The Sword Saint, Reinhardt, the greatest strategist, Volga Cromwell, and finally, the divine dragon Volcanica, her Felt, to have made all of them her supporters, just how many stars of destiny shone above her? Do you really stand losing to those stars, Aldebaran-san? Even if he could not deny the narrow victory, the stalemate, and the sensation of carrying an unexploded ordnance, it was true that Aldebaran had overcome the situation until now through a desperate struggle with death. Without forgetting that truth, he would take it as a warning and a guiding light in order to proceed on to what followed from here. So, what are you guys planning on doing from here on out, and where? So you won't even tell me that? If you're afraid from feeding a fish that you caught too much, you might end up with one with bad taste in your mouth, Aldebaran. Calling out Aldebaran's name, Belt flashed her high high canine and a smile. Around her neck was steel wire tied. Yep. Sorry, chat. Let me see. The fuck? Oh, okay. Oh yeah, fuck. Sorry. Around her neck was steel wire tied by Ye, and she was in a hostage situation as she herself had proposed. Nevertheless, the glint in her eyes showed no signs of her fighting spirit diminishing. So after stifling his hesitation, Aldebaran spoke. To answer Felt's question, that was to say Aldebaran's destination. We're headed for the Grand Mogolade Geyser, right in the heart of Kararagi. There lies the one and only hole in this world that connects to a place nobody can. What the fuck? I've got something I need to throw. Hey, yo. What? Mogolade Geyser, right in the heart of Kararagi. There lies the one and only hole in the world that connects to a place nobody can reach. I've got something that I need to throw away there. For that purpose alone, you're kicking up this much of a storm? Yeah, that's right. It's necessary so that I may be myself. What does this mean? Felt likely could not imagine the significance of that deed, and Aldebaran made it clear through the strength of his words that he had no intention of helping her imagination draw any closer. Taking that in, Felt narrowed her red eyes and gave up on what she was about to ask, though he knew that what she was about to say would have been regarding she who was no longer among them. Whoa! What the hell? What happened? Oi! Aldebaran! May! How the hell did this? Shit! My back fucking hurts! The enigmatic atmosphere between Aldebaran and Felt was noisily and clumsily destroyed by Heinkel as he finally woke up, invoking a sense that the battle was now well and truly over. Even so, okay, that's the end. Even so, there was no mistaking the awful sense of involuntary gratitude he thus felt towards Heinkel himself. That fucking comment. Ew, just a whole chapter of that bum Aldebaran spreading his disgusting filth everywhere. Hey, yo, this is a W fucking chapter. W chapter. Honestly, it's crazy to think how much information that we were getting in just this chapter. Like, with the whole, oh my god, Al supposedly being involved with sealing Satella, like going to this geyser place where it might just be a hole to go back to the real world. Like, that's insane, dude. Like, thinking about the implications of a lot of the stuff that was said here is actually freaking wild. And then seeing that Felt has some type of authority over Volcanica is insane. Because, I mean, for obvious reasons, we haven't seen Volcanica interact with anyone from the royal family. Since, to our current knowledge, other than potentially Capella, Felt's the only one who could have had an interaction like this. And to see how the dragon interacts with Felt is interesting. The plot thickens. So look, I'm not going to hold y'all. We're going to end it here. But I'm about to record the next one. So this has been your boy Zero, aka Black Natsuki Subaru / Goku. If you guys enjoyed this video, leave a like, subscribe, hit the notification bell as well so you can stay updated on when I make videos, content go live, and when that next ReZero chapter reading goes up. So until next time, I'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace.